Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Human Rights Podcast. In our previous episode, we highlighted on the topic, no be every help, be help. And today, we're looking at another perspective under the sexual harassment blanket, as I've said over and over again. So this time, our conversation is arising from this perspective that is often overlooked. We're looking at sexual harassment with respect to the male student when he is the victim. That is our theme for today. And as rightfully said in the previous episode, this is an initiative by the Level 300 International Human Rights class of the University of Ghana School of Law. And just like that, we're going to talk to our resource persons who are here today. Today I have with me two fine gentlemen who are going to help me properly talk about this topic, and we're going to look at all the perspectives that fall under this topic. So I'll start at my introduction with my resource persons from my far right, and I'm sure you saw him in the first episode. So
thank you very much. I mean, it's an honor being here again. My name is Gideon Ejapon. I mean, a mental health officer from University of Ghana Hospital, and also a law student.
And thank you so much, Karen, for calling me. So I'm Edward Bright Adiaba. I'm a member of the last year's International Human Rights class of 2025 for the University of Ghana School of Law. And I'm honored to be here, so thank you so much.
Thank you so much for honoring our invitation. So whenever conversations about sexual harassment start, the first thing people think about is the victim being a woman. Or how is she? What happened to her? No one really tends to make the victim identity very non-binary or non-specific. It's always a female. That is not taking away the fact that more often than not, we tend to have women, or we tend to have more reports about sexual harassment being women. Our topic being when he is the victim. Ideally, what came to your mind? I know I keep on asking about your reaction in the last episode, but then I want to know, what is your take on this? Because as the objective of this committee and our project ideally is to look at other areas of sexual harassment that aren't being properly explored. So when you heard that this is the topic we're highlighting on, what came to mind? So I'll start from Gideon here.
Well, I mean, it's worth discussing because the reason why the male being a victim has not gained, the spotlight and not talked about is because of our societal orientation, how a male is supposed to, conduct themselves and, generally puts themselves out as the stronger one, and that you are not supposed to be the victim of abuse and all that. I mean, this has seen expression in our laws as well. So our laws doesn't really take particular attention to, pay particular attention to the fact that a male can be a victim. And it has gone to the extent of finding expression in codification as well. So societal orientation, imagine reporting to a policeman that a male has been a victim of some sort of sexual abuse. He is not, first of all, going to take you seriously. Any other person within the law enforcement architecture ordinarily will not be expecting the male to be the victim because they are also from the same society we are all from and have the same orientations.
Yeah, moving on to Edward. When he is the victim, this is the topic. What came to your mind? What are these people talking about?
When he is a victim. Now, like Gideon was saying, the cultural context or the society that we are in, it doesn't view males as what victims of sexual harassment. And it's because of how we view males in Ghana. Males are seen to be strong, stoic, tough, and all that. So when the issue of harassment comes, harassment puts a person in a position of weakness. You understand? And males do not often want to be seen as weak. And another aspect, when you look at the publicity and the advertisement when it comes to sexual harassment, it's always a biased narrative with a female victim and a male perpetrator. So all in all, when you take all this into consideration, you see that males are not really getting the recognition in terms of sexual harassment suit. And even though, females are the main victims of sexual harassment, we are not disputing that. But then again, the views of a minority should not be disregarded. And when I heard the term, you said what? When he is the victim. It's a nice term you've coined. So yeah, raising awareness is all good.
Yeah. So the conversation about it, we do not want our viewers thinking that one form of sexual harassment on one particular victim being a woman is heavier or has more consequence than it being a man. Ideally, I feel with respect to other criminal offenses like rape, which is like quite gender specific, sexual harassment, as we said in our previous episode, it pans across every other person. The first goal is that I think even animals to a certain extent are harassed. We hear a lot of things about that too, but we want our viewers to understand that the very purpose of this conversation is to highlight on the fact that men, just like every other person, woman, child, can also be victims of sexual harassment. But then why do you think it is usually women that tend to be the victims?
I mean, like we have said, even our laws, I mean, societal approach gives recognition to the fact that the female is at all times supposed to be the victim. Okay, so it's not motivating. The male would not want to even complain about any form of harassment or whatever it is. Imagine, I mean, practically, as part of sexual harassment, I mean, if somebody sends you some sort of suggestive or, sexually overt pictures and, use some words that are not, I mean, ordinarily supposed to be used if you are not in some sort of amorous relationship with a person. Imagine a man or a boy being sent some of these pictures. It's considered as normal. Because, I mean, like I said, that's how society has been oriented to actually see things.
So you would say that to some extent, it's been normalized that when it's these same acts are being the victim or like the recipient of these acts, if it's a man, then it is regular.
Exactly. It's been normalized to the extent that the man, I mean, like I mentioned, is not even motivated to complain. But a woman, I mean, excuse me to say, how dare you send a woman something that's suggestive, nudity, or those kind of things? Right from the beginning, you've committed some sort of offense. So the woman is motivated to complain about it. When parents see that you are doing that to a woman, they have a reason to complain about it and all that. But when they see you do that to a male, I mean, even parents themselves do not even pay attention to that. And certainly because of that, they're not going to be reports in respect of men. But for women, I mean, certainly because of, I mean, what we have discussed, there are going to be more reports.
So from your professional experience as a mental health expert, ideally, the acts of sexual harassment should cut across for everybody. I see the statement he made where if it's to a man, it's been normalized, so it's like, oh, it's not a big deal. But if it's to a woman, just like I said, how dare you even send it to her, right? Like, as from your point of view, as a mental health expert, would you say that ideally, sexual harassment, acts of sexual harassment differ when it comes to a man or a woman? Because maybe it has to be very grave and very conspicuous for a man to rather come out because we've normalized certain acts to make you feel like it's regular.
Oh no, I mean, that's just repression. The man also feels, I mean, the same way a woman feels about things. But
really?
Yes. But
men feel the same way you feel about things.
I tell you. But I mean, these are because if something is obnoxious, I mean, I don't think anybody would see somebody saying nudity and say that this is pleasurable and all that. Now, even if a man, to some extent, will see that as pleasurable, like I said, it's societal orientation. That shouldn't be the case. It ought not to have been so. But right from childbirth, they are telling you these things are normal. And as a man, I mean, if a lady tells you this, it's normal. If somebody tells you this, it's normal. It's our upbringing, it's the nurture and not the nature. That makes...
So that's how you've been socialized.
Exactly. That makes you think these things are normal. But then, I mean, they are all as grave. I mean...
In effect, we'd say that this socialization has made these men or the men in our society this way, right? But then it has an effect on the men. As a mental health expert, I'm sure as time goes on, to every other person, a man, a woman, a child, over time, when you tend to want to soak everything in, you want to bask, not necessarily bask, you're soaking everything in, all the abuse, all the pain, it has some effect on you. So on a man, we're looking at it where society has been made it, don't show your emotions too much. Even when you're hurt about something, someone's mom is dead, a man's mother is dead or has lost a parent, you can't even shed tears.
Yeah, I mean, that's the sorry state of a man, but...
the sorry state.
Yes. But, you know...
When you want to cry.
If...
You'd want to cry. If you got the opportunity.
If I have the opportunity, I would do.
Okay.
On behalf of all men. So, if you look at... I have worked for some time. I mean, data elsewhere and data here in Ghana and data where I work indicates that the people who suffer depression the most are women. Now, let me tell you something. We have a lot of women reporting, when it comes to depression and all that. But the most adverse consequence of depression that we all seek to avoid is somebody committing suicide.
Yeah.
So then, reasonably, if women are the, people who really suffer depression the most, then there should have been a corresponding, data indicating women are committing suicide. But comparatively, putting side by side the rate at which men commit suicide and the rate at which women commit suicide, it's almost, 3 times as much as women. Yes. So we have a lot of women on the record suffering depression, but a lot of men committing suicide. Elsewhere, where I've worked before, plus University of Ghana combined.
Sure.
I don't remember the last time I ever, heard of a woman committing suicide. All the data we have, in recent times regarding students and also non-students are all men. But then you have women coming and complaining of depression and all that. The reason is, like I mentioned, men go through the same, emotional, issues, but because they are repressed, the next thing you see is the man acting on the far end. When I say the far end, the most adverse, consequence of depression you can think about, a man committing suicide.
So you're trying to say essentially that women tend to report more, tend to eventually ask for help because society has allowed it.
As encouraged by society.
As encouraged by society. But then for a man, it is seen as it's not very common, and it's not ideal to come out and ask for help. So eventually, when they've gotten to the very extreme part of their depression or their emotional stress, then they take it out by...
Exactly, they act on it. They act on it. Because like we have mentioned, if you're a man and then you like complaining about every little thing that makes you feel bad, a woman told me something and then I feel it's sexually, suggestive and all that, it's a sign of weakness. And it paints a picture of some sort of wounded, masculinity.
Yeah.
How kind of man are you? Complaining about... You are supposed to be the one that at all times domineering. Which is very unfortunate because some women, can be very abusive sexually and then otherwise as well. But as
you have
a
a white smile on your face. Yeah, because that's leading to this scenario I have in my head. It happens more often than not. You see it in movies when they used to show YOLO. We used to see like a lot of scenarios like that. So we're looking at the university community. There's he's bright, and he tells his homeboys, his friends that, this girl, when she sees people are not looking, she's touching me and all of that, and she's sending very, very unequivocal sexual texts, right? And then he tells his friends, and his friends are like, but you, use it to your advantage, aren't you a man? Right? That is not very uncommon I'm sure our listeners are even wondering, it's not very uncommon to hear something like that, because ideally, if it's a woman, then the person is a predator. If it's a male doing that to a woman. If it's a man, society's mind has been cued to think that it's to your benefit because freely.
That's very unfortunate.
But then what is the repercussion of this thought ideally?
let me cite this example before you continue. Some few days ago, I was standing somewhere, and I'm not referring to University of Ghana, it could be anywhere.
Okay.
I was standing somewhere and a lady was touching a guy's buttocks in the open. Yes, was touching his buttocks in the open. Nobody around seems to have a problem with this at all.
It wasn't odd.
Nobody has a problem with it. Do you get it? How does this guy now approach? Who are you going to approach to report that this lady was touching my buttocks? You must be not okay. You must not be okay.
Yeah.
You must be out of your mind to do that, because nobody's going to see that as normal. You are never a victim when it comes to sexual harassment and any form of sexual abuse at all. So I think that I may have lost track of the question you asked.
Yeah, I was asking like what message is sent out there if we're trying to normalize men being harassed.
Yeah, so it shouldn't be normalized, and it starts from children's upbringing. When our children are being brought up, we should let them understand that there's such a thing as barriers, and people should not cross anyhow. We shouldn't normalize some of these things, because
So there's a big duty on the parents and all other agents of the socialization system.
Exactly. I think that it should start when, the person is young, so that they understand that there are barriers when it comes to, private parts or any form of sexual harassment. And then when students come to school also, once you are introduced into the university community, there should be some sort of orientation, laying emphasis on the fact that there's such a thing as, the male being sexually harassed, and that we should not normalize it. Because if they come in, they are not told, and they see women making unwelcome sexual advances towards men, and they are not complaining. Tomorrow, when somebody does it to him, there's no cause of action, because that's what they came to meet.
Well, that leads me to my next question to you, Bright, as a male student yourself. Would you say, I think it's quite glaring, but then I'd want to know what you think about it. Would you say that, to some extent, the male students aren't able to properly identify what sexual harassment acts are?
Yeah, very true. Because for a guy, it's very difficult to differentiate harassment from these flirtatious advancements. And for males, I'm a guy, so I'll speak from my point of view, right?
Okay.
If there are some advances that are thrown towards you, there's a certain, let's say, pride in knowing that someone is touching your face, touching your interesting part, right? And most guys will not view it as harassment. They'll view it as welcoming advance. Yes, you understand it. So it's a cultural mindset that we've been conditioned with. And I'm sure we've all been seeing the memes. I think on Google you type, a girl is touching me, what should I do? And then they say, well, Google says she probably likes you, interested, all that. But if it's a boy touching, it's harassment.
You should report it to them.
Report all those things. So it's a cultural conditioning that we've undergone. Okay. Then even one last example, when you watch these TikToks and Reels, you'll see reports of probably a female teacher having sexual encounters with a 14-year-old boy. Then if you go to the comment section, you see that everyone is wishing to be in the position of the boy.
The young boy. You understand?
So they view it as, a welcoming thing, not harassment. So if we can change the narrative, then I think people will be more able to tell the difference between harassment and, consensual and legal flirtatious advancement.
Owing to the fact that our main topic is sexual harassment and its impediments to academic freedom. Now let's talk about academic freedom. We're talking about the University of Ghana student, the psychology student, the law students, that male student, right? How does, we're all not the same kind of people. There are certain things that my reaction would be different, right? Another girl would be like, oh, this is okay, this is chill. It's same with men also. There are certain things that another man would be able to get over real quickly. And for another one, you've hurt his self-esteem, you've worried him, you've distracted him very much, right? How does these acts that have been normalized by society, that haven't been spoken about by society enough, how does it affect the male students in school?
As much as it does affect women, it affects men as well.
Yeah.
The only differentiating factor, like I have said, is the reporting and the fact that the person does not even find any, legitimately they feel they should not report. But whatever they feel inside is very real, in fact, You can sit by a lady in class and probably she may sort of engage in some sort of sexual advances towards you. For all the period you're in class, you will not be able to concentrate.
Possibly distracted.
Yes. Some may come from, I remember I had a classmate some years back who was extremely religious. And he didn't like the idea of sitting beside girls. A very intelligent guy. So
Smart.
very, very, very smart guy, So there was a time a lady, wiped his seat with her handkerchief and all that. And then when we saw that, we were like, hey, today Osofo has a wife and all that. How normal it sounds. Very normal. But he didn't take it lightly. And I'm talking about tertiary. So in the course of the noise, excitement, and all that, before he realized he was crying.
Oh, what's up?
Yes, I was always crying because, I mean, he didn't take it lightly. A lot of men, he probably has been able to, it's found some sort of expression. How uncomfortable he felt about trying to impose, somebody on him and all that. But there are many people who will not cry, but internally will feel it, and throughout the lecture period, will probably not be able to concentrate and all that.
So in affecting the confidence, we're looking at some of the negative aspect. How about the positive aspect? Which shouldn't be so. For somebody, it's a boost to their confidence. They are working on cloud nine. Wow. I didn't have to do anything. She came. Which shouldn't be so. You are being sexually harassed. But then, okay, now let me give the proper scenario where this male student kind of likes this girl. You are being sexually harassed, but you like them. So then it's like we normalize it when you like the person.
That to me is some sort of ill confidence, because I don't see the benefits of this type of confidence. I mean, not that I know of, that your privacy being breached and you not being respected, no boundaries and all that, and you feel that should engender some sort of confidence. That is not a proper confidence I think we should advocate for. So, I mean, there are other things you can engage yourself into, have the proper confidence, Now, this confidence you're talking about is the same thing that's going to lead you into also normalizing that accepting advances from anybody, any female, it's okay. And then it will lead you into being accused of, making sexual advances towards a woman, because after all, where does that confidence take you to? To be able to approach women on any day, to be able to accept.
Looking at the young man one you're saying, where over 1,000 people, over hundreds of people in the comment section are saying, hey, wow, you've been able to pull your teacher. Oh, wow, young boy. So then it gives you some ill confidence that you can just move to any adult
any minor. Do you get it? Yes. Any adult, any minor, and that is the kind of confidence you're talking about. This is not the confidence to be able to stand before public and speak and make articulate, submissions and all that. I don't think that is the kind of confidence.
That's all confidence it gives you. For students.
Yes, for students. It shouldn't be. So essentially, it really affects the mental health of the male as well. It kills self-confidence. As a matter of fact, proper self-confidence. It kills it when you are being abused from time to time. There's some sort of sexual harassment. People go through it, they're not able to voice out, they repress it, post-traumatic, stress events, as they walk around. They feel very traumatized, but they're unable to express it. So I think we should give recognition to the fact that the male also goes through a lot when it comes to sexual harassment, just that we are not appreciating it because they are not telling us. Yeah.
So beyond academics, how can these experiences also affect some relationships? Because say the expression with your also for guy like this, maybe after crying, looking at how all his friends have hyped the whole situation, he might not even want to be in that circle again. He will stick to himself because maybe he might have been ridiculed for the reaction he had after the very normal encounter with the lady who wiped his seat, right? So we're looking at how, because ideally, once you're depressed, once you're emotionally stressed, once you're having a burnout, it affects everything you do, relationships, academics. So we're looking at the students right now because we're in a university community. We're social beings as animals, and we are social animals as human beings, right? So we have to interact with other people and do a lot of things. So how does this tend to affect our relationships? Like how people, because as you said, it will kill your self-confidence, right?
Yeah, and it's traumatizing. So you wouldn't want to go close to your triggers.
Yeah.
So when you see a lady you're supposed to be the best of friends with, so that you form the best study group, she will teach you, you will teach her and all that. Now you begin to shy away from those people because of this kind of traumatic incidents. So it really affects self-confidence. It affects behavior. There are people. I give you this example practically, and very psychologically proven that people who are raped, end up not wanting to be in a male-female relationship. Yes, they don't want to. When you talk to them, when you're interviewing them, you talk about sex, they start crying. You see, so they don't want to. So some of them go to the extent of getting married and don't even find sex within marriage as something pleasurable. That this sense of it being a punishment, because the person has been raped before.
So the trauma.
In the same way, the male constantly has been exposed to some sort of sexual harassment, battling it within, not being able to express it and all that, may not be able to even have a proper male-female relationship leading to marriage, a happy home, and all those kind of things, you know. So you find out that sometimes the ladies, they end up being lesbians. Not to say it's a bad thing per se. I mean, I'm not giving an opinion
So then
on that.
it looks like the victims tend to be in same-sex relationships.
Same-sex relationships, you know, the male will be in a same-sex relationship, the female will be in a same-sex relationship. I mean, they've been abused. The auntie who was bathing this boy from childhood, holding him in a way that's inappropriate and all that, all the way till they grow, it's been repressed, and they're unable to build proper, healthy male-female relationship.
Okay, so we're talking about building better support systems, right? Looking at the fact that this same environment we find ourselves in, this same friend groups are the ones who do not make it easy to speak up. Now we want to make a change. We want to educate people on what they have to do. What do we have to do? Like the friend group, what do we have to do now when we hear things like this? Because sometimes, just as you said, some of them are like flirtatious acts. Not disputing the fact that they still are acts of sexual harassment, but then what do we have to do as friends in the community, in the university community?
Okay, so looking at the age of our society, how far we have come from, you know, it's almost become some sort of impenetrable cloak. You know, how do you now reorient a whole society and all that? I think that the most effective way is to do that through education, public education. There should be a lot of public education on how, you know, not normal it is for the male to be sexually harassed and all that. And I mean, come to think of it, if you have a male to male, you know, sexual abuse, sexual harassment and all that, in Ghana, if a male abuses you as a male and you would want to go and report, it appears the attention is not on the perpetrator, but you are also seen as somebody who has done some wrong. I mean, because in itself, so you are this, you understand? And for all your life, you will live with that stigma that you are that kind of person who another male has taken advantage of. So it's not about looking at the perpetrator and trying to, you know, hold them responsible, but also looking at you as somebody who has, even though been a victim, but I mean, for the want of a better word, an accessory, or, you know, somebody who has shared in the wrongdoing of the perpetrator.
But then looking at, you see, the same friend groups, families, church, sometimes your abusers are closer than you actually think. What would you consider as, this is to you, Edward, as a student yourself, and then to you as a mental health expert, what are the avenues that are created that allows men to be sexually harassed? You know, according to the University of Ghana Anti-Sexual Harassment and Misconduct Policy, it sets out certain acts that fall under the sexual harassment blanket of a definition, right? Some of them are verbal, some of them come via electronic means, right? Some of them are as petty as, not petty, some of them are as simple as making a remark about another person, male or female, just saying it randomly, right? But then some of the sexual harassment acts are quite deep, right? And it leads to men being, men can't be raped according to the law, but then men being to the, like a grave part of the sexual harassment spectrum, right? So what are the avenues do you think that are created? Because some people, I'm going to give you one, sometimes because of dependency, some people depend on some people. One uncle is taking care of them, and then this uncle does this to this young boy. So like, what avenues do you think are created? Yeah.
Well, this now becomes a very sensitive thing to talk about, because if the people who are the perpetrators are the closest people we have, the immediate family or the immediate people we have certainly are our support systems.
Yes.
So sometimes reporting these people will become a problem, because
very difficult to do.
How do you deal with it? Because, you know, let me tell you this. There are a lot of fathers abusing children sexually.
Yeah.
There are a lot of fathers that I know of, not as in know of, I mean on the record. Children report how their parents, I mean their father, especially the female, I mean gender, how their fathers sometimes, I mean, make some sort of advances and all that. I mean, they are reporting because they are female. Now, it's reasonable to also presume that the male gender also goes through some of these things, but like we have said, they go unreported. So dealing with the immediate people and how they become the abusers is very touchy. I mean, because you may end up breaking a family. And I don't think Ghana is one country that has that support system that is able to take care of people you know, instead of their families. I mean, if you are taking away a child from a family, I mean, we are not that equipped. So then again, I think education, education, some people do that and they find no wrong with what they are doing. So they are wrong, but they are in a way, you know, ignorant about their wrong. They are honestly wrong. You know, they don't find any wrong in touching a male child at home, holding his private part, playing with it. This one, when he grows, this thing will be this size. This, and they do all these things, and they don't even find that it's wrong.
And even with what, like, we're not digressing, but then with the part you just spoke about, could it also be that past trauma tends to make people act in the way they act? Because an adult doing that to a child most likely might have experienced that as a child.
Certainly, that's the normalization we are talking about. It was done to him, and nobody seemed to, you know, find that as a wrong. So that becomes the normal, you know. So if he's doing it to somebody else, I mean, that's why I'm saying that the person is wrong, but honestly wrong because it was done to him and nothing happened. It was normalized. So he also finds no reason why he shouldn't do it to that other person. Okay. Yes. So I mean, it's by experience. So we project whatever we have experienced to other people. So I think another way we can deal with this is when the legislature, the makers of our laws, are able to come clear and be, you know, quite strong-handed in terms of their wording.
So you'd prefer a gender-specific provision?
Gender neutral.
Neutral. Oh,
you get it? Because most of the sexual offenses are sexual offenses the way they are, not because of the act, but because of the gender. The same thing you do to a woman, the same pain, the same suffering will not be the same offense because of the person's gender and not the act. So when the legislator is able to come out clear and not look at the offense in terms of the gender, but in terms of the act itself, then I think it will rearrange society in a way, plus education.
You know, and speaking about, I'm coming to you, Bright. Speaking about how ideally the abusers, the normalized acts of sexual harassment, like grabbing the behind of a male, and usually it's the regular friends you have, it's not that deep. Or it's not supposed to be a big deal. When it comes to your self-respect, as a student, have you experienced anything like that? Let me start with that. Have you experienced anything like that before?
Grabbing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I have.
Oh, how many? Like, can you count, or you can't count? It's a lot.
I can't.
Maybe he doesn't want to give the number.
Thank you very much.
So you've had quite an experience.
Yeah.
Was it something? Was it a welcoming act? Like you asked for it?
Oh no, I think I didn't welcome it. So in that sense, I might view it as harassment.
Yeah.
But
no, you might view it. The university views an unwelcome conduct as such.
Yeah, the policies, harassment. So yeah, that's harassment technically. But there are ones that even though it was unwelcome, my continued engagement with the act made it welcome. I don't know if you get the distinction.
I get what you're trying to. So
yeah. So initially, from the beginning, probably it just came out of the blue. But as it went on, probably the next few seconds became welcome. So
and these are normal things that everybody else sees as normal, like not as in something, you know, weird and all that. The normal things he's talking about. I mean, normal touches. I mean, the normal things you see. So it's not anything weird or I mean, anything out of the center we know of.
But then I'm giving you this scenario where we're all dressed very nicely and maybe we're at a seminar and then someone comes to grab you behind. Not a mistake. Because your hand can just hit somebody because you're moving backward.
By accident.
Not an accident. Someone, your friend, one of your female friends, Karen comes like, hi, oh my God, oh you look so, oh wow, these pants look so nice on you. Is that how your butt looks? And then grabs you in public, formal setting.
I mean, that's harassment and it's the act that is wrong. I think the other factors, gender,
I'm
age,
looking at it, I want to
things.
know ideally, right, as a male student, as a man, right? Because we all have this dignity, this reputation. I'm trying to see how that affects it all. Because the man society is like, it's chill, it's not really a big deal like that.
And that is the orientation, like you were saying. Most men.
Yeah, so I want to know you the victim, the man right now.
Yeah,
right?
Depending on the situation, I think their self-esteem might go down, especially if the person is touching them one without their consent. And with the touch, it belittles them. I mean, he's the
expert, yeah?
psychologist, but I would believe that things like that, they affect the mind of a person. Like the same way a bad event can totally ruin your whole day.
Yeah.
The same way that harassment, if someone is continuously touching me as a student, it will linger on my mind. I might not even focus in class. I might not do what I'm supposed to. So yeah, it weighs heavily on my mind.
So,
as a student, it gives you a sort of victim mentality if you don't report it and it prolongs. Yeah.
So, gleaning from what he said, coming back to you as a mental health expert, what are some signs that will let you know that someone is silently struggling? Sometimes they are not saying it, but it gets to a point where it gets so bad, it is written all over them. As an expert, because maybe the regular Karen might not be able to tell, but then I'm like, oh, my friend, he doesn't act regular, because I believe if I'm going, I can put my hands around, or like, oh, let's go. But like Mary's like, he tends to act in a particular way when I do that. That's when maybe I as a friend will be like, no, this is not how my friend acts. But as an expert, what will let you know that someone is silently battling something, especially owing from a sexual harassment act?
Yeah, so I mean, it's important to first of all know who the person is and how they've been behaving thus far. So if you know the person and there are some changes, then you will know. But some of the most pronounced changes you will see is where the person starts to not engage in activities that were formerly pleasurable. You know, normally this person would want to engage in conversations, talk about movies, discuss cases and all that, but all of a sudden the person gets reclusive. You don't understand, you know. Some people don't even come to class. If you have noticed, I mean, one thing I think here at the University of Ghana, students don't do well is to account for friends. You know, trust me, there are a lot of people at the hostel, they don't come to class. A lot of them. And some of these things, they owe, it's reasons to some of these things. Somebody is, making advances. Somebody is laughing at them. I mean, aside the other social problems they may have. So in order to, pick out these signs, you only, like I said, have to find out how the person was before now, whether the person is reclusive, their sleeping patterns, their eating patterns, the person gets, irritated easily nowadays. Something that ordinarily would not have irritated this person is now irritating them. They are not proud of talking about certain things again. The most important things, like coming to class. I mean, the principal thing we are supposed to pay attention to here in school is to come to class and learn. If the person is able to give away class and stay inside, then something must be going on in the person's life.
Can I add to what he's saying? Because a situation on level 100, there was a time I missed class for a week. When I'm thinking about it, I'm seeing signs of harassment there, because like the policy code says in the UG, is this censor or something? Sigensa, sorry. Yeah, one of those acts is probably the visual, unwanted visual and whatever. So me, from where I was coming from, male boys school at this adult college and all that. So I was not really used to the dressing at the time. So imagine my shock, first week, second week, third week, and I'm seeing interesting things, let me just put it that way.
Interesting.
Yeah, because
From the female.
from the females.
Oh,
okay. In the this is not aggressive, right? But in the way they dress, the way they approach,
see other
Quite revealing.
unwelcome.
outfits that you were not used to.
Yeah, and it was revealing too much for me. So I took a 1 week break from class. So in that sense, you can. This is just my personal one, right?
Okay, fine. No.
Yeah, I went through counseling. So
Oh, you went through counseling?
no, I'm just kidding. So I'm saying like that unwelcome attention, the fact that I was not comfortable in that setting, seeing all those things, I had to
the discomfort
withdraw.
you're talking about. This is what leads me to what I was about to say before he spoke. That we're looking at situations where, still back to the conversation about being harassed, the harasser, right? We're looking at it where it's the student and lecturer, student and teacher, student and somebody in a powerful position, right? We tend to have people who are being harassed or abused of any other form, not wanting to go anywhere near the person or doing an act that put them in that situation. So a child that maybe plays soccer, and let's say his coach does that to him, will stop wanting to play soccer, right? we have maybe a child who would ideally like to go to grandma's house during vacation, not wanting to dread the thought of vacation because this is what his uncle or this is what the older boys in the area would do to him and all of that. We were coming to the academic setting. Don't you think that to some extent it's draining on the student who now has to avoid a particular course, drop a course he genuinely wants to study, right?
Certainly.
How that, because what then is the narrative if this is the university community where we have to, these are the next, we always say that we are the future leaders and everything. This is the next generation who are going to make the future life much better and everything. But if this is the situation we are putting ourselves in, we are making people not want to do what they desire to do because of these situations. What is something that the university has to do? Or something as friends, parents, what is the task that us as a community, members of the community have to do?
I mean, it's quite unfortunate that the university community is a community as any other community, with all the people you see at home, all the strange things that you see, we have them at the university here. The only safeguard we have is University of Ghana's commitment, in terms of, dealing with some of these things. I mean, times without number, we found the university publish names of even senior members who sort of, in one way or the other, are engaged in some of these things. Okay, so looking at the university community, I feel the university has done, well in dealing with some of these issues. However, I mean, growth is desired, so we are looking forward that more is done. And then on the individual level, we are supposed to, anybody that listens to us, hears us and all that, you should assume a responsibility, play a role on the individual level as the institution plays its role. If you're a parent, pay attention to some of these things. Rearrange your children, and if you're a big sister, big brother, let it start from you. And I think in doing so, its effect, which you are afraid of affecting academics and all that, will now dwindle. Until then, I mean, nothing can change. Yeah.
Sure. What about you? What role do you think we can play to reduce this? Or
I think a stronger support system.
Stronger support system.
Yeah, because my situation I'm talking about, a friend didn't know it back then, but the regular calls and send me notes, recording, all those things, it really helped pull me out of. Doesn't really, I'll not consider a serious situation back then, but someone might, right? So it really helped pull me out of it. And like for example, if it's a school setting or class setting that you are facing the abuse, there are other areas that you are comfortable going, your home, probably your church. We must so make it possible that wherever he goes, wherever he's frequently going, there are support systems that he can go and talk to, seek counseling and all those things. So that it's not like once, for example, in the classroom, that's where you're facing the abuse. So you just, recline and go to the safety of your room. Yeah. Wherever you're going, be it church or your community or everything, there must be support systems in place, family, friends, all those things that you can talk to this, that you can speak to this about. And if that happens, I'm sure it's a step in the right direction.
And on that note, I think you even made a comment that, you're not realizing that you have been harassed in a particular way. So education is very important. And on that note, we'd like to say to every law student that if you're facing any issue, you need someone to speak to, there's the mentorship and counseling committee you can go to. And then the broader university community, the UGCC, the University of Ghana Careers and Counseling Directorate, and then the Center for Gender and Student Advocacy, I should believe. Yes, so SIGENSA, UGCCD, and at the law school, we have this committee, the mentorship and counseling committee to help out with that. So I'll take your final remarks on this very splendid and very interesting topic. What is one thing you'd want our listeners to know? One myth about being a male survivor, generally everything we're speaking about, one thing you want to hit home for the male students listening to us, the regular boy out there.
To the regular boy, what I like to say is that some display of strength are unrequired and unnecessary. If you are being abused, you should be able to open up, speak up. Speaking up is not a sign of weakness, but it's you being strong and assertive, and that's what makes society grow.
Thank you very much. I'm up to you, Edward. what's one thing you'd want someone to pick from everything we've spoken about? We've spoken about how society tends to make that's even toxic masculinity, because you want someone to not speak up when they're hurting because of the gender they're associated with. What is one thing you want our listeners to pick today?
You should understand that harassment is an act and it's inherently wrong. As I'm speaking to law students, right? You understand the term mala in se. It's inherently wrong. So regardless of your age or gender, those are secondary. The wrongful act that you are going through is what we are trying to prevent.
Sure.
And all the effects that will happen to you, that's what you are trying to prevent. So forget the secondary stuff. If you are going through something, if you fall under the umbrella of the act that are happening to you falls under harassment, speak up, speak to a trusted adult or a trusted committee, say mentorship and guidance committee here in the law school, and seek help, and you'll be fine. Yeah.
And just like that, we've come to the end of this very insightful conversation. And today's discussion reminds us that sexual harassment is not gender specific, right? It is person specific. It cuts across to every single person. And then recognizing the experiences of male survivors is not taking away the fact that women also tend to be victims. We're just trying to create a fair balance that every person, every student, everybody can be a victim of sexual harassment. And then a campus where everyone feels free to speak, can advocate for themselves and do what they came here to actually do, socialize and get the education that they deserve to have. That is the community we want as members of the University of Ghana community. In our next and our final episode, which will be the weight of an accusation, we will explore how allegations of sexual harassment shape lives, public perceptions, and essentially why fairness is needed and due procedure is very, very important. Until then, I'd like to say a big thank you to my resource persons, Mr. Gideon Ejapon, Mr. Bright Adiaba. And once again, I've been your host, Eugenia Karen Amedeka, and I'll catch you in the third and final episode. Bye.